to be able to just make a choice on your own and just be able to speak for yourself.
This one's wife. She's exposed again. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. This one's wife has not travelled with Harry to go and see King Charles following his cancer diagnosis. Her position, of course, is that she needs to stay in the United States to look after the children. Nevertheless, these are individuals that have got plenty of money. Even though it's starting to run out, they still have it. They're also in a position to bring with them nannies. They're also in a position to utilise staff. And therefore, all of them could have travelled to the United Kingdom to go and see Charles. Indeed, Charles would be delighted to see his grandchildren and his son. It would enable his facade to be managed and would demonstrate that those individuals are under control and would provide him with fuel. Therefore, the attendance by all of the Sussexes upon the king would be something that he would very much want. This one's wife facade management would benefit from taking such action, but the difficulty that she has is that, one, she has no emotional empathy for the king. Two, the fact of all of the reportage about his cancer diagnosis is a threat to her control, as I've explained earlier. Three, the fact that Harry has gone, dropping everything, is a threat to her control. Four, reconciliation, as I've explained previously, is further a threat to control. And therefore her narcissism dictates that she ought to stay in the United States. Furthermore, her narcissism still recognises that the British public are hostile to her because of her behaviour. She, of course, will interpret that as them just being haters and that she's the victim and she's done nothing wrong. She will also see the British media as hostile, and therefore her narcissism is wary of her returning. For her to do so would be advantageous. It would be useful facade management, and it would lead to possibilities of reconciliation which could assist with regard to money, for instance. But it needs to be on her terms. In effect, she wants the apology first, rather than turning up to express compassion for Charles. This, of course, exposes her. The fact that she has not gone, the fact that she has not issued any form of public message of support for the king, is demonstrative of the absence of emotional empathy and her need to continue to be unpleasant because the royal family is painted black. She sees herself as the victim, and therefore her narcissism essentially tells her, why should you do anything nice towards them after the way that they've treated you? Why should you issue a message of support when they've been horrible? They should apologise to you first, and then we might look at how we'll deal with them. But her failure to go with Harry shows a lack of support for him, which of course is not a surprise given she's a narcissist. It shows a lack of support for Charles, an absence of compassion on her part, and the failure to issue any kind of public statement also is demonstrative of her narcissism in action and the fact that she's hating all of the attention being on Charles. So not only has she been exposed as to what she is once again by her failure to attend or issue a message of support or do both, but she's also been shown up with regard to her relationship with her father and also by her father. Dealing with the second part first, the Mail reports from Caroline Graham, Thomas Markle sends King Charles all the good wishes in the world following cancer diagnosis. He, of course, has done so for his own facade management and to draw fuel from people's responses to it, but nevertheless he's done it. But his daughter, who is the daughter-in-law to the king, hasn't. Thus, he's shown her up and exposed her behaviour. This one's wife, estranged father Thomas, wished King Charles all the good wishes in the world after the monarch's cancer diagnosis was revealed on Monday. Thomas, 79, who has had his own health woes and is still recovering from a major stroke he suffered in 2002, said, "I want to send my best wishes to King Charles and hope he gets well very soon. I wish him all the good wishes in the world. Charles, 75, was diagnosed with cancer that was discovered during treatment for an enlarged prostate more than a week ago. The King walked this one's wife down the aisle at her 2018 wedding to Prince Harry after Thomas suffered 2 heart attacks on the eve of the wedding and was ordered by doctors not to fly. He has spoken in the past of his disappointment at not being able to walk his daughter down the aisle of St. George's Chapel at Windsor, but said he would be eternally grateful to the King for stepping in at the last minute. Thomas and his daughter, this one's wife, have had a fraught relationship in recent years. Mr. Markle begged the Duchess of Sussex to let him see his grandchildren last September, adding that he had not seen her for 5 years. At the time, this one's wife's father compared himself to King Charles, saying both of them had been deprived of contact with their grandchildren. King Charles has done nothing wrong too, and he's denied the kids as well as I am, he said. Mr. Markle last spoke out in May 2023 after Harry made a whistle-stop visit to the United Kingdom for King Charles's coronation. The 79-year-old said he had stayed up all night to watch the ceremony on TV at his home in Rosarito, Mexico. He told the Mail on Sunday he believed it was for the best that the Duchess stayed at home. He continued, there are too many disagreements between this one's wife, Harry, and the royals. It was wonderful to watch the good people of Britain welcome their new king and queen. Thus, Thomas Markle demonstrates facade management with his well wishes towards the king, highlights the fact that his own daughter hasn't done so, and moreover, draws attention again to the fact that notwithstanding another illness in the family that she's not been motivated to do anything about, she still has no contact with her unwell father. This, of course, is not a surprise. He has been disengaged from by her. That is relatively unusual for a non-intimate secondary source, or secondary sources in general, but it can happen. This is because that she deems him of no further use and that he was too much of a threat to control. Accordingly, he was left on the shelf and then disengaged from. Her narcissism has seen, so far, no need to reconcile with him. There will, of course, be people thinking, surely this one's wife. You now learn that your father-in-law has got a serious diagnosis of cancer. Surely this should bring into sharp focus that time is short and that you should reconcile with your father. That would be the reaction of many other people, but not this one's wife, because her reaction isn't motivated by the emotional empathy that I've just described there, but rather is motivated by the pursuit of the prime aims. She can continue to control her father by having nothing to do with him, the third assertion of control. She doesn't need fuel from him. She's fueled from other places. He doesn't provide her with any notable character traits anymore, and he doesn't provide any residual benefits. Accordingly, there's no need for her to have involvement with him, and indeed a need not to have involvement with him to punish him as a consequence of his perceived threats to control that have occurred in the past. But once again, she is exposed for the narcissist that she is by a failure to support her husband, by a failure to go and see her father-in-law, and a failure, in light of these recent health developments, to consider a reconciliation with her own father. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.